Weed control in sunflowers. You know, Darren, it's really not that difficult.
Sorry, I was just about going to laugh,
options
Brian.
haven't changed. Yeah,
I was just about going to laugh
because Darren,
other than going out with a cultivator or going out and pulling them by hand, you don't really have a lot of choices.
Well, you know, growing up, Darren and I used to have to pull sunflowers, and I could not believe the first time I saw a sunflower field. I just thought, what are those guys doing? How can they raise sunflowers? But sunflower is actually a great crop for a lot of farmers across the United States, and especially in the Dakotas, it's one of the most popular crops that's out there. So we wanted to talk about weed control in sunflowers. It's a little bit challenging, Darren.
And here's the reason why. You've got a broadleaf crop, and you know, with sunflowers, there are a lot of herbicides that kill sunflowers.
Right.
There aren't very many that kill other broadleaf weeds that don't kill sunflowers. So you've got great choices, pre-emerge, soil applied, those kind of things, but really post-emerge it gets limited. So you have to make good selections with your pre-emerge options.
Okay, so what I always tell sunflower growers is, look, don't even plant sunflowers if you don't want to put at least 2 pre-emerge herbicides down there. Yes, you can try getting by with 1 pre-emerge herbicide, but why would you want to try to get by when you have good yield potential, which we do in a lot of areas, and you have a good price, which we've actually had for the last few years. There is tremendous income potential in raising sunflowers, so don't chance it. Start with 2 good pre-emerge herbicides.
In conventional tillage, Treflan and Sonalan are great options. They're pretty forgiving if you get a little too deep or you don't get them mixed just perfectly in your soil, but they aren't very forgiving if you want to spray them on the surface of the soil and work them in later. They have high vapor pressure and you'll start losing product almost instantly when you spray it on top of the ground.
But the reason why you want to use Sonalan is not only is it a better product, but it also has less carryover the following year. Yes, I know it costs more than Treflan, but the reason why, again, it's better and it carries over less. So use Sonalan instead of Treflan. In terms of no-till situations, that's where you want to use Prowl. Prowl is the only one of these 3 products that doesn't have high vapor pressure, so you can spray it out on top of the ground, wait for a rain, and then that will move it into the ground and you'll get decent weed control. Now, Prowl isn't quite as good as what Sonalan is, but it doesn't have the carryover that Treflan does either.
All right, well, let's talk about that, Brian, because some farmers will say, all right, I'm in a dry part of the country and here I've got, you know, this product Prowl that I'm going to lay on top of the ground. It needs water to get down into the soil and wash off my residue, and then it also needs some water to get into those weeds. So how do I ensure I get enough water?
Well, my suggestion would be to go spray it real early in the year. Here's the problem with that though. You are also going to want to put Spartan out there because that's the only real good pre-emerge broadleaf choice you've got. You could use Spartan, Spartan Charge, or Spartan Advance, any one of those 3 combinations, but you've got to get Spartan out there somehow, some way. Okay, so if you want to save a trip, you're going to put your Prowl together with your Spartan. Well, Spartan has tremendous burn down activity, so why would you want to put the Spartan on real early when you would like to put the Prowl on? So that's kind of the question mark that everybody runs into. Yes, ideally we'd like to put the Prowl on super early, but ideally we'd like to put the Spartan on right around planting time. If you do that, you should get very good weed control most of the time. Now, if you end up in a complete drought, these products aren't going to work 100%. So you say, well, what are my post-emerge options? In terms of grass, there are many grass killers that are labeled for use post-emerge and very safe to the sunflowers. We talk about Select Max a lot on Ag PhD, but there are other products like Arrow, for example, and several others. So you've got a bunch of options there. But the problem is when it comes to broadleaf options, there's nothing. Well, there is one. You could go out there with Assert, but that's really hard on the sunflowers, and if it was my farm, I probably wouldn't use it. There are some farmers who do it. I just don't think I would. I think it does too much damage to the sunflowers. If it was me, I'd rather have my 2 pre-emerge herbicides out there, and hopefully I have good enough broadleaf control. I don't need that post-emerge shot.
All of that talk is about conventional sunflowers. Now, we do have some herbicide-tolerant sunflower options. For example, you could use Clearfield sunflowers and spray Beyond. Now, that's a great product for many weeds, but again, it's an ALS herbicide, so you have to be concerned a little bit about weed resistance. If you've got kochia as your main weed and you've got ALS-resistant kochia in your area, you're kind of out of luck.
Or ALS-resistant water hemp, for example.
But Beyond is an awesome product. There's a number of weeds that it's going to control, and if you are comparing to conventional sunflowers versus Clearfield, you've got a lot better option for weed control.
Well, the other option is Express Sun sunflowers, and there you can spray Express post-emerge. You're probably familiar with Express in wheat. Express has been around for a lot of years. Again, it's an ALS herbicide, but it does have pretty good control on a lot of different weeds. So a lot of farmers say, boy, I'm going to plant these Express sunflowers. That's great. It's just you can only use Express. You can only use the DuPont product because the generics are not going to be labeled.
Well, there aren't a lot of weed control options with sunflowers, so you have to do things timely and you have to do them right. Using a combination of a grass control pre-emerge herbicide in addition to a broadleaf control herbicide is the best program that we can come up with for sunflowers. You're going to get most of those weeds before they ever emerge. Then the other things will have to be cultural management practices. That's your best weed control options in sunflowers.
Or, of course, you can plant those herbicide-tolerant options, clear field or express sun as well. Well, either way, you're probably going to want to get our Weed of the Week under control. It's a tough weed to stop, but we'll tell you how to do it on your farm coming up later in the show.